Promise lifecycle actions. Create a scene Thunk will generate 3 Redux action creators using create action, that is pending, fulfill, and rejected. Each lifecycle action creator will be attached to the return Thunk action creator so that your reducer logic can reference the action types and respond to the actions when dispatched. Each action object will contain the current unique request ID and the argument values under the action.meta. And here we have the actions creators will have these signatures, so we can appreciate the interface serialized error, and inside of this curly braces we're going to have the name set to stream, the message set to stream, code stream, stack set to stream. Then we have the interface pending action, and then inside angle brackets we have the Thunk argument, and the type is going to be a stream, the payload is going to be undefined, and meta is going to be set to an object with properties, request ID set to a string, and the argument set to the Thunk argument. We have the interface fulfill action, and we're going to have the Thunk argument and the promise result. The type is going to be a string, the payload is going to be promise result, and meta is going to be set to this object with a request ID set to a string and the argument set to the Thunk argument. We have the interface rejected action, so here we have the Thunk argument, we have the curly braces, and we have the type set to a string, the payload is going to be set to undefined, the error is going to be serialized error or any, the meta is going to be set to this object with request ID set to a string, the argument set to the Thunk argument, aborted is going to be set to boolean, and condition also is going to be set to boolean. We have the interface rejected with value action, that is going to take the Thunk argument and rejected value, and we're going to have the type set to string, the payload set to rejected value. We're going to have an error, and we're going to have this object with a message that is going to be rejected. The meta is going to be set to the request ID set to a string, the argument set to the Thunk argument, and aborted is going to be set to boolean. Now we're going to have types. Type pending, that is going to be set to the Thunk argument, and here we have an arrow function that is going to have as an argument the request ID set to string and the argument set to the Thunk argument, and then we're going to have the pending action and the Thunk argument. We have the type fulfill, we're going to have the Thunk argument and the promise result, and as arguments of this arrow function we're going to have the payload set to the promise result, the request ID set to a string, and the argument set to the Thunk argument, and this is going to be set to fulfill action, Thunk argument, promise result. Finally, we're going to have the type rejected and the type rejected with value. So in the type rejected we're going to have the Thunk argument, and the requested ID is going to be set to a string, the argument is going to be set to Thunk argument, and then rejected action, and here we have the Thunk argument. Finally, here we have the rejected with value, and now we don't just pass in the Thunk argument but also the rejected with value. The request ID is going to be set to a string, and the argument is going to be set to the Thunk argument, and then we're going to have the rejected with value action, and we're going to have the Thunk argument and the rejected value. And in future videos we're going to be checking this in Visual Studio Code, so but as of right now we are just checking the theory. So to handle these actions and your reducers, reference the action creators and create a reducer or create a slice using either the object key notation or the builder callback notation. Note that if you are using TypeScript, you should use the builder callback notation to ensure the types are inferred correctly. So again, here we have this variable named reducer1 that is going to be set to the create reducer, and this is going to take the initial state, comma, then we're going to have this arrow function inside of the curly braces, and inside of the brackets we're going to have the fetch user by ID that fulfill, and inside of the arrow function we're going to have state and action as arguments, and then set to an empty set of curly braces. And if we go to the terminal and we go to ls, and I'm gonna go into cd, I think it was express, no, it was reducer, yeah, Redux, and now it's gonna be test. Okay, now we're gonna open it in Visual Studio Code and with code space that. So yeah, this is pretty much our test, and we have here the Redux, React, Redux. We have the at Redux.js/toolkit. So these are the important things. And right now here we have the create slice inside of the counter folder. Inside of the features folder, we are bringing the create async Thunk and the create a slice from the at Redux.js/toolkit. And if we go here into the package.json, this is where we have it, number 6 at Redux.js/toolkit. So that is that. In this example, we have a second variable named reducer2 that is going to be set to the create reducer, that is going to take the initial state. And in the arrow function, this time as an argument is going to be taking builder as an argument, and we're going to be using builder in the curly braces. So we're going to use builder.addCase. So addCase is a method, so we're going to have builder.addCase, and we're going to pass in the fetch user by id that fulfill, and then it's going to have an arrow function with arguments, state, and action, and it's going to be set to an empty set of curly braces. We're going to have the variable name reducer3, and this time we're not going to set it to create reducer but to create a slice, as we can see in the counter slice, create a slice. It's going to be set to create a slice, and inside of the parentheses we're going to have an object with properties. So we're going to have name set to the string users, the initial state, the reducers are going to be set to an empty set of curly braces. The extra reducers are going to be set to this object with the fetch user by id that fulfill, and then we're going to have an arrow function with state and action as argument, and is set to an empty set of curly braces. Finally, we're going to have the fourth variable named reducer4 that is going to be set to a create a slice. Inside of the parentheses, we're going to have the subject with properties, name set to users, initial state, reducer set to an empty set of curly braces, and then the extra reducers that is going to take builder as an argument, and to the right we're going to have the builder.addCase. So we're going to have the fetch user by id that fulfill, and then we're going to have the state and action as arguments set to the empty set of curly braces. So now we're going to see the handling Thunk results. Unwrapping result actions. Thunks may return a value when dispatched. A common use case is to return a promise from the Thunk, dispatch the Thunk from a component, and then wait for the promise to resolve before doing additional work. So here we have a function named onClick, and it's going to be set to an arrow function. It's not going to take any arguments, but inside of the curly braces we're going to have the dispatch, and inside of the parentheses we're going to have the fetch user by id. We're going to pass in the user id, and we're going to change the function that then to the fetch user by id, and inside of the parentheses of the function that then we're going to have an arrow function that is going to take again no arguments. And here you can put in the work, so you type in your work, do the additional work. So now we have the Thunks generated by create async Thunk will always return a result promise with either the fulfill action object or rejected action object inside as appropriate. The calling logic may wish to treat these actions as if they were the original promise contents. The promise returned by dispatch Thunk has an unwrap property which can be called to extract the payload of a fulfill action, or to throw either the error or, if available, payload created by the reject with value from a rejected action. And now here in the component. So here we have this function named onClick, and it's going to be set to an arrow function, no arguments here, but to the right we're going to have the dispatch, and it's going to dispatch the fetch user by id, and it's going to pass in the user id. Then we're going to have these functions, the .unwrap, and we again empty set of parentheses outside of that we're gonna have the function that then, and it's gonna take an error function inside of the parentheses, and we're gonna have the original promise result as an argument, and then it's gonna be set to an empty set of curly braces. So handle the result here, you type in your code here, and finally we're gonna have the that catch. So again, set to an error function with rejected value or serialized error as the argument, and then an empty set of curly braces. So you would handle your errors here, you would type in res.status set to, I don't know, 401, and then throw some error, and then so you would type your message inside JSON. And now here we have a second example. So you could do it with async/await syntax in the component. So here we will have this variable or this function named onClick, and it's gonna be set to an asynchronous function. Okay, so no arguments, and inside of the curly braces we're gonna use the try catch statement. So inside of the try we will have this variable named original promise result that is going to be set to await, since we are using asynchronous, and we are awaiting for the dispatch fetch user by ID. We would pass the user ID, and then we would change the function that unwrap and handle the result here. You would type in some code here, cancel that something, and here outside of the try statement we will deal with the catch statement, and inside of the parentheses of the catch statement we will have the rejected value or serialized error. And again, inside of the curly braces you would type in your code, you would type in res.status 400 401, throw new error, and type in some message in JSON. Here, using the attached that unwrap property is preferred in most cases. However, Redux Toolkit also exports an unwrap result function that can be used for a similar purpose. So here we don't have it here in any of the example that they give us by default, but okay, if we go into the counter data slice again, the way that you would do it, you would type it just import unwrap result from the @redux.js @redux.js/toolkit. So as long as, if we go into the package.json, as long as we have installed the dependencies @redux.js/toolkit, we will be able to call in this unwrap result. So now in the component we will have the function onClick set to this error function, and we will use inside of the curly braces dispatch fetch user by ID. We pass in the user ID, and then that then inside of the parentheses we will pass in unwrap result, and then that then we will have this error function with the argument original promise result and set to an empty set of curly braces. So you would type your code here. Finally, in the catch, we will pass in an error function with an argument rejected value or serialized error, and here you would type your code here. And finally here they give us an asynchronous await example syntax again. So you would import the upwrap result, and you do that import inside of the curly braces. You would type in unwrap result, and you would bring it from the @redux.js/toolkit. So in the component we will have this function onClick set to an asynchronous function. Then we will have the try catch statement. The result action would be the variable, and it's going to be set to await, and this is asynchronous. Then dispatch the fetch user by ID, and we would pass the user ID. Then we will have a second variable original promise result that is going to be set to unwrap result, that is going to be passing the result action, and then handle the result here. And in the catch statement inside of the parentheses we will have the rejected value or serialized error, and again do your res.status 401 and throw some errors and throw some JSON here, some message saying, I don't know, something went wrong, there's a mistake. And now we will handle checking errors after dispatching. Note that this means a failed request or error, and the Thunk will never return a rejected promise we assume that any failure is more of a handled error than an unhandled exception at this point. This is due to the fact that we want to prevent uncode promise rejections for those who do not use the result of dispatch. If your component needs to know if the request failed, use the .unwrap or unwrap result and handle the result, the rethrown error, accordingly. So here now we have the handling Thunk errors. When your payload creator returns a rejected promise such as a thrown error in an asynchronous function, the Thunk will dispatch a rejected action containing an automatically serialized version of the error as action.error. However, to ensure serializability, everything that does not match the serialized error interface will have been removed from it. So here we have the export interface serialized error, and inside of the curly braces we have the name set to string, the message again set to string, stack set to string, and code set to string. If you need to customize the contents of the rejected action, you should catch any errors yourself and then return a new value using the Thunk API that reject with value utility, doing return reject with value. Inside of the parentheses we have the error payload, and will cause the rejected action to use the value as action.payload. The reject with value approach should also be used if your API response succeeds but contains some kind of additional error details that the reducer should know about. This is particularly common when expecting field level validation errors from an API. Here we have this example that they are giving us. So we have this variable named update user that is going to be set to the create async Thunk, and if we go here again to the counter slice, we have here create async Thunk. So we are bringing it the create async Thunk from the @redux.js/toolkit. So create async Thunk, and inside of the parentheses we're gonna pass in this string user/update, and then we separate it by a comma, and then we're gonna have an asynchronous function. Inside of the parentheses is gonna take user data, and then it's gonna take this reject with value inside of the curly braces. And to the right of the arrow we're gonna have this curly braces, and we're gonna destructure the ID, blah blah blah, and then the fields, and we're gonna destructure it from the user data. Outside of that, no, after that, but inside of the user to the asynchronous function we're gonna have the our try catch. So inside of our try statement we're gonna have a variable named response, and we're gonna set it to await, since this is an asynchronous function, and we are gonna await for the user API that update by ID, and we're gonna have the ID and the fields. And now we are gonna return this variable, the response that data. This is an object that user, so we're gonna return the response that data that user. So we are returning this variable here. And now in the catch we're gonna catch the error. So inside of the curly braces we're gonna return reject with value, and we're gonna return the error that responds that data. So use inside backticks error that responds that data as action.payload for a rejected action by explicitly returning it using the rejected with value utility.